We live in a world that loves winners. We love winners. We love to be winners. We love to be associated with people who are successful, with those who have managed to come out on top. It almost seems like this is in our DNA as human beings. In a very dramatic way, our Palm Sunday gospel reading that we heard at the very beginning of this morning's liturgy reminds us of this about ourselves. It is the story of Jesus' triumphal entry into Jerusalem. As we all experienced just a few moments ago, when the people in the story first see Jesus riding into the city on a donkey, they greet him as if he were a king. Indeed, some of the people in that crowd may have assumed that Jesus was a king, the king that they had been waiting for, the Messiah who was coming and who would victoriously overthrow the oppressive Romans and triumphantly sit on the throne of David. And so, assuming this is who Jesus might be, they treat him like a champion. They throw their cloaks on the roadway before him. They wave palm branches around. They shout, "Hosanna." They roll out the red carpet. They celebrate his arrival. Because that's how you treat a winner. Yet how quickly the tide turns in our Passion Gospel from Luke, the moment that these very same people realize that Jesus isn't who they thought he was. How quickly their excitement fades when he doesn't live up to their expectations for being a Messiah. How quickly they turn on him the moment he is arrested. How quickly their shouts of Hosanna turn to shouts of crucify him. How quickly he loses his luster when he is condemned by the religious authorities and handed over to be killed. How quickly he goes from being the golden boy of Jerusalem to being public enemy number one. How quickly. There is a word that comes to mind for what Jesus becomes in the eyes of the people. It's a word that I remember well from middle school. It's a cruel word, an ugly word. In fact, in 7th or 8th grade, it was just about the worst thing that you could call someone else. Loser. Loser. No one wanted to be a loser. No one wanted to be associated with losers. And yet today, that is exactly what Jesus becomes. A loser. A total loser. His ministry, which had mostly been a ministry to other losers and rejects and misfits, seems to have been a failure. He has nothing to show for it. Most of his followers, even his best friends, have abandoned him or now deny ever having known him. And now, instead of being treated like a king, he is tried in the court of public opinion, convicted as a criminal, and sentenced to death on a cross. A cross is not a place where winners end up. Palm Sunday and these coming days of Holy Week challenge us to wrestle with these things. They challenge us to wrestle with what it means for us as Christians to place our faith in someone who was a loser. To wrestle with what it means for us to worship a God who in Jesus chose to become a loser. The earliest Christians also wrestled with these things. Why they started to wonder, why would God choose to give up every ounce of power and die the most shameful of deaths? The Apostle Paul certainly wrestled with this question. We get a glimpse of this in the second reading this morning from his letter to the Christian community at Philippi. In Jesus, Paul wrote, God humbled himself, taking on the form of a slave and being born in human likeness, humbling himself and becoming obedient to the point of death, even death on a cross. For Paul, that wasn't the fine print of who Jesus was. That was the heart of who Jesus was. And he wanted to make sure that those who professed to follow Jesus knew this about him too. That in Jesus, God chose to become powerless, to be stripped of power, as so many others in this world have and remain powerless. That in him, God chose to die a cruel, unjust death, as so many people have and as so many people do. That in Jesus, God chose to become a loser. Holy Week challenges us, all of us, to remember this about Jesus as well. This probably is not easy for many of us to do, to confront this part of Jesus. There is a reason why churches are filled on Easter Sunday, but not so much on Good Friday. It's easier, isn't it, to confront the Jesus of Easter than the Jesus of Good Friday. Easier to confront the Jesus who is triumphant, who is a winner, than the Jesus who goes to the cross and loses out. And yet, unless we do go there, unless we are willing to confront the Jesus of the cross, we can't really understand him. Because the truth is, if we just skip ahead to the Jesus of Easter, the winner Jesus, then we don't really know him. The truth is, if we can't be with him there on the cross, then we can't fully know him. We will get to Easter soon enough, and to the Jesus who is triumphant, and to the good news of the resurrection, and to the Easter eggs, and the Easter lilies, and all of those things that we know and love about Easter. But today, and this week, the good news for us is something else. Not that Jesus is triumphant, not that he's a winner, but that he isn't. Today, Palm Sunday, and throughout these coming days of Holy Week, the good news for us is actually that Jesus is a loser, and that in him, God, the creative power behind the whole universe, chose to become a loser too. Chose to stand with all who are losers in every time and every place, with all who have lost out, all who have been betrayed, rejected, or condemned, or terrorized, or incarcerated, or deported, or disappeared, or crucified on one of the many crosses that still exist in our world. Not just 2,000 years ago, not just today, not just tomorrow, but always. That's the good news for us today. That's the good news that we are invited to contemplate this coming week the good news that we are invited to take deep into our hearts. That like the empty tomb on Easter with its heavy stone rolled back, we too might be truly open to the new life of the resurrection. Amen.